still June 13th. Let's read this again because I would like to finish sometime soon so I can read books that are actually good. We are now officially at the 50% mark, which is the past, the changing. Last thing that happened in the past was Kai got accidentally body swapped with an expositor, I guess, which is gonna be whatever excuse so that Kai and Bashasa can be in some kind of fucking relationship. It's implied that they have, or had, despite Kai being a child. So we are on page 207, the halfway point to the end of page, which will be page 414. And actually, I need to just skip back to last time we were in the past, because that was confusing and weird. I've went back to page 193 because I'm confused. Okay, so Kai fell unconscious, trying to kill the expositor, accidentally body swapped with him. So now Kai is waking up unknowingly in the body of the expositor. Kai came back to feel the soft scrape of ivory. Now that we know that's what's going on, I'll just reread this page in, point 2, because it's confusing now. Kai came back to feel the soft scrape of ivory tile under his hands, and he rolled over. He remembered crushing weight and splintering bones, but nothing hurt now, except his swimming head and the sick knot in his stomach. He saw white skirts and looked up, expecting to see the hierarch standing over him. But it was Bashasa. Bashasa flung out his arm. "Stop! Stop!" He stared down at Kai in horror. "Sister Witch!" Kai blinked up at him, then down to where the hierarch sprawled in blood-soaked robes, just past Bashasa's boots. The hierarch was dead. "Bashasa, you did it," he croaked. Kai should have been happier about that, but he just felt exhausted. Oh, right, because he had broken all Enna's bones, and a powerful curse-breaker had done something terrible to him. This was what being knocked adrift from your body was like. Except not, because Bashasa was clearly staring at him, and a mortal wouldn't be able to see an adrift demon. Zidi's voice said, "Kai?" Bashasa said, "Here. He's here." Zidi lunged into view, throwing herself down beside Kai, her brow knit in an incredulous frown, which at least was better than horror-struck disbelief. She said, "Kai?" He said, "Zidi?" His voice still sounded strange inside his own head. Bashasa killed the hierarch, didn't he? Zidi's gold makeup was a smeared mess. He tried to reach up to wipe it away. "Kai!" She took his hand. Her hands were warm, and he realized how cold he was. "Did you mean to do this?" "This?" "To kill the expositor," Kai managed. His ankle hurt, his back ached. He was freezing cold. Worse than lying outside in an ice storm without a coat. Why did his voice sound so strange? She squeezed his hand. "Yes, Kai, but did you mean to do this?" She took his shoulders and turned his body towards where Bashasa still stood like a statue. No, past Bashasa toward the crumpled form that lay near the dead hierarch. Kai was looking at himself. He was looking at Enna's body. Her eyes were open, but they were mortal eyes. Kai had never seen Enna's eyes. When he had woken in her body the first time and been shown her face in the polished metal mirror, her eyes were already the flat black wells that marked a demon habitation. Now they were brown flecked with green, dull and still with death. He said, and his voice came out in a different tone. "That's me." Then the sick pain in his stomach welled up and his vision went black. The part I'm confused about is what the fuck is Bashasa doing here? Kai came back into awareness, looked up to see Bashasa. Bashasa flung out his arm. Stop! Stop! He stared down at Kai in horror. Sister Witch! What? I don't get it. What is Bashasa doing? See, him throwing out an arm would make sense if there was, like, somebody next to him that had been about to stab Kai, because the body Kai is in is the bad guy. But he's alone, so what is he doing? I don't get it. Because, stop! That's the kind of thing you say when you're, like, I don't get it. What is he doing? Who is he flinging an arm out to? It's so weird. It's just confusing me. And, like, why don't they explain it's just weird. It doesn't make sense. Bashasa flung out his arm. Stop! He stared down at Kai in horror. Sister Witch! I don't get it. It's just confusing me. That's like the very first thing that Kai sees when he comes back to being not unconscious. And it doesn't make sense. And it's just confusing. Like, if Bashasa had put his arm out to stop somebody who was about to stab Kai, because just Kai's opened his eyes to show the demon eyes just in time, I don't get it. What's supposed to, like... What, did Bashasa think he was the expositor and was trying to tell the expositor, stop? Because he's not saying it in an aggressive way. He's saying it in a, oh no, that's my friend, don't stab him way. So, it's just weird. It doesn't make sense. I just wanted to reread that to see if it makes any sense in retrospect, and it still doesn't make sense because he wasn't saying stop as in don't move or I'll decapitate you. It was a stop. It's like, alright. That's just unnecessarily confusing. Now we're on page 207 again. We're managing to turn a page. ZD's still doing the zero personality besides making threats. We're only getting, it's page 208. We're only seeing half the conversation. Kai just woke up in Bashasa's lap. Looks over, sees ZD and Arn Nefa, who is a demon that appeared in one of the past chapters for like 5 seconds and then was never seen again until coming back now. ZD stood a few steps away, speaking to Arn Nefa, and another demon in the body. Hold on. That's page 209. Let me scroll back again. Alright. Page 182. The last chapter when we were in the past. Page 182. Towards the very, very bottom. As blah blah blah. As he reached the huddled shape, they lifted their head, shaking back a mane of tangled hair. Kai-Enna? He stared down. The demon was in the body of an older man. His clothes were ragged, but pinned to the tattered coat was a small plains wolf carving. The sigil of blah blah, I don't really need to read that part. Arn Neffa? That's Arn Neffa. He almost hadn't known her. I guess I will read just the rest of that paragraph for the heck of it. He stared down. The demon was in the... This is weird. The demon was in the body of an older man. His clothes were rags, but pinned to the tattered coat. There should really be a comma there, but there is not. His clothes were rags, but pinned to the tattered coat was a small plains wolf carving. Comma. That's the first comma in that sentence. There should have been a comma after the word rags. It should be his clothes were rags, comma, but pinned to the tattered coat was a small plains wolf carving. The sigil of Cavanesi Seredi. Also, plains wolf is one word uncapitalized. And then he recognized the face. Arn Neffa? That's Arn, A-R-N dash Neffa, N-E-F-A. Kai flung himself down and hugged her. He almost hadn't known her. Arn Neffa's cheeks were sunken, the skin around her eyes deeply bruised. She looked like a different person. Under the rot, she smelled like the grass plains, like the under-earth in her veins. Which is more of that mystical, magical thing. That was page 182. Now on page 208. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. Turns out I didn't have to do that. I just missed one word in this because it's cut off slightly. Ziti stood a few steps away, speaking to Arn Neffa and another demon in the body of an older Seredi woman. I was thinking, wait, are we just suddenly saying that she's actually in the body of a woman? It's because the word another is cut off, so it has to get broken up. Her ragged coat still bore the crow design of Rinaldi. I'm so fucking confused about how much time is supposed to have passed since the whole they blew up a magical nuclear bomb thing at the thing. Arn Neffa, and again, whatever. He is the demon called Kaisteron. That's all I can tell you. The Rinaldi demon added, it doesn't happen often, or at all, if that's what you're asking. When we leave our gifted bodies, we return to the under-earth, but with the passage sealed. She made a helpless gesture. I'm asking if he'll be all right, Ziti said, her voice harsh. He won't lose his hold on it. This body. It's like Ziti literally is never anything except mean and cruel and harsh. And then Martha Wells went out of her way to call her an angry shrew. You are literally the one who has given her zero personality outside of being angry, the angry lesbian stereotype, and then you have the fucking gall to call her an angry shrew. What in the absolute fuck? Wow. Congratulations, Ziti. Fuck you, Ziti. An edge after Ziti is doing that. An edge in her tone, Arn Neffa said, We don't know. She turned away. Kai wanted to call to her to stay, but she walked out. The Rinaldi grimaced in frustration and followed. So Ziti has now just fucking harassed the other demons into not interacting with Kai. Ziti snarled under her breath and turned back to face Kai and Bashasa. She's literally still just being angry. now on page 209. We're getting a description of Kai's new body. Zedis on page 209. Zeddy sat back on the ivory floor and dug in a pouch at her belt. She handed Kai a small mirror with a carved wooden back. Kai took it and stared at himself in the silver surface. His skin was a more golden brown now, and his hair a darker black. Everything was different. His face was longer, less round, had high, sharp cheekbones, dark brows, full lips. His teeth were different, with no points on his incisors. He didn't look so ready anymore, and that made something in his chest hurt. The only thing that was recognizably his was the flat black wells of his whiteless eyes. She said black wells to describe the eyes, like, twice, in very short succession, and is again doing whiteless eyes. Just say solid black eyes. It's going to be irritating. He poked at his hair again. It hung past his shoulders, partly secured with emerald-tipped pins. He had never even seen an emerald before. Wait, what? He squinted at the polished green stones in the mirror. How do I know these are emeralds? So Kai is now going to be even more absurdly and unnecessarily overpowered to reduce any sense of stakes even more, because it looks like he now knows literally everything that this guy knew. Because kitty cat, that is so unnecessary. I can hear exactly what you are doing. Tone down the enthusiasm. Oh my god. Why? Ugh. You are causing so many problems. Tone it down. Thank you for the enthusiasm, but you're going... Oh, God. I just refilled the cat litter box with fresh litter, and he is so enthusiastic about it, he just covered the floor with it by kicking it over his shoulder, which means I'm going to have to go and sweep. So, when he stops doing it, he's not going to stop until he's done. You better hurry up. Alright, so I gotta pause this now. Alright, disaster averted. You wanna come sit with me, pretty kitty? He's very proud of himself. Get there. Alright, where were we? We are on page 209. He can't go back into Enna's body. Enna was gone now, just decaying flesh. Nothing inside her to reach out to. I mean, she has been dead this entire time, so I don't know why it's being stated like that. But whatever. Oh, yeah, the bottom of page 209. So now he's gained all the knowledge that this expositor guy had, which is bullshit and is literally just making him, oh no. Oh no. Ugh, making him more overpowered. And now they're gonna say that by absorbing this adult man's knowledge, that Kai's an adult now. So it's not pedophilia. Even though Martha Wells didn't have to make it pedophilia in the first fucking place. She could have literally just not made them pedophiles. Just don't, you don't. Zeddy said wryly, "At least you're pretty." Kai stared at her and she winced and said, "Sorry, I suppose it's too soon for humor." Page 210, we've succeeded in turning a page. This is a guy that's in this fucking dramatis personae for no reason. Page 210. When Kai had first awoken in Anna's body and shared her last thoughts with her grieving family, her memories had faded quickly into dreamlike images, barely to be grasped. He retained a few things, like being able to speak Seredi. The faces of her family had been familiar, though he didn't know their names. He had recognized her horse, been able to find her bed in the Kent Dessa tent, but that was all. He and Edeni and Vara and Illudi had made a game of it, trying to see what Kai could guess or remember. Next paragraph. Kai knew a lot more than that about this expositor. His name was Talamines. Is that pronounced? This is again the exact same dilemma as Acclines. Is this pronounced Talamines? Talamines? Some other thing? Talamines? We don't know, because despite there being a dramatis personae that lists characters that are dead before page 7 is even done, and characters who are literally dead from the moment we're introduced to them, like this guy, there's no pronunciation guide. His name was Talamines. He was from Irakan, or Irkan. Again, no pronunciation guide. Irekan. I guess I'll finish reading this dialogue. Kai didn't know where that was. Somewhere to the far south, in the path of the Hierarch's progress across the world. Even Talamines wasn't certain exactly. He was taken from there as a child. He barely remembered anything about it. I know what his rooms here in the palace look like. I know how to get there. I know ... So much I can't ... He shook his head. He knew too much. It was all a confusing jumble. Zeddy looked increasingly worried. I thought demons didn't retain the memories of their hosts. Seredi call us to take the bodies of their recent dead. This Talamines was alive. It's all still here. Page 211. We're told on starting page 210, continuing to 211, even still shaking with shock and wearing a stolen body. So he's apparently shaking with shock. A thing not conveyed through the narration at all until we are just told it. So check that off the fucking tally mark that I had to erase because I had to wash my hands. That's number 11 because I remember we got to 10 just with the last video. So that's 11. We'll just call it 1 for this video. But like probably over 50 total now. I'll know because I'm numbering them when I'm making the transcripts for these videos. If you're randomly watching this in completely random order, you don't have to watch these. I am going to make transcripts. Hey, that's your food bag. It's not a scratching post. You have a scratching post. I'm going to make transcripts of everything I'm saying so that you can just read them all on the Internet Archive. Once they're done, she's just being silly. Okay. Oh, again on page 211, we're getting more retcons to Kai's power to make him even more overpowered. It's literally just the first paragraph that starts on this page. Pain was the most oh wait, no, hold on. Let me read that last paragraph. Kai knew better than to touch the hierarch's well. Even still shaking with shock and wearing a stolen body, he knew that would be a terrible idea and would probably tell the missing hierarchs and every expositor within range where he was, right before the well flooded his body and possessed him. But Talamines had known a lot about how to source power. Pain was the most readily available. Pain of other mortals, their life force, their deaths. The obvious solution was to use the legionaries, but it wasn't the solution Kai wanted. Grandmother's body had been burned, trapping her in the underearth, never to walk the mortal world again, and Captain Kent Dessa and all the others were dead, killed by the hierarch's great working, and that's working with a W, or cut down in battle afterward, but Kai could picture their expressions if they knew he was even contemplating it. Huh? Whatever, it's just badly written. But yeah, again, we're just retconning shit. We are first very explicitly told in no uncertain terms that expositors get their power from death. Then that was changed, and it wasn't the change wasn't treated as a revelation or new information, and that everybody was being lied to before. It's just retconned because it's bad fucking writing. And not even Martha Wells is so bad at writing, she can't even keep a single magic system straight in 211 pages now, let alone 3 of them that literally all just change to do whatever the plot requires. Page 211. Okay, after that ridiculous paragraph I just read, we just have a little paragraph below, and then it's the very first sentence in the paragraph preceding that, following that. So just that first stupid paragraph I read that doesn't make sense. Blah, 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 but Kai could picture their expressions if they knew he was even contemplating it. We don't know what it is. But I'll just read it again because it really doesn't make sense. Blah, 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 blah. It's a bad idea. That first paragraph that I'm not rereading. Blah, 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 blah. Kai knew it would be a bad idea to touch the hierarch's well, so he's not gonna do it because that would be a bad idea. Next. Talamines had known a lot about how to source power. Pain was the most readily available. Pain of other mortals, their life force, their deaths. The obvious solution was to use the legionaries, but it wasn't the solution Kai wanted. Grandmother's body had been burned, trapping her in the underearth, never to walk the mortal world again, and Captain Kent Dessa and the others were dead, killed by the hierarch's great working, or cut down in battle afterward, but Kai could picture their expressions if they knew he was even contemplating it. Still don't know what it is. It's not touching the well. But Bashasa and Ziti could have left him to recover or not on his own, or be killed as an expositor by someone who didn't understand what he had done, or be killed as a demon by someone who understood it all too well. He had to figure out a way to help them. All right. Now this line. The horrific emotional consequences of the worst mistake of his life aside, Kai had an idea. What? What are you talking about? Like, none of these paragraphs actually, like, are lead. There's no logic here. What is going on? The horrific emotional consequences of the worst mistake of his life aside, Kai had an idea. What are we talking about? I legitimately do not understand what the fuck is going on right now. I think that was supposed to be funny, but like, what's the worst mistake of his life? And the horrific emotional consequences of the worst mistake of his life aside, saying that something he's done just now was the worst mistake of his life with horrific emotional consequences? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Because he's not exactly like fucking grieving in his body or anything. There's zero emotion in any of this. So what are we fucking talking about? I'm still on page 211 because I can't get past this line. Let me turn the fan off. It's making my eyes dry. I'm so confused. What are we fucking talking about? Because, like, just why, again, that's 12. If I were keeping a tally, it's just imaginary tally on my, no, wait, nope, the marker's right here. We're going to continue another tally. So that's 2 for here, and I'll just write 10 above it. 10 for the last video. 2 for here for shit that just gets thrown out of side of nowhere without setting because it's badly written. What does this fucking mean? Okay. Statement 1, it would be easy for Kai to get power by just taking pain from other people, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to do something else. What else? We don't know. We get told he's imagining grandmother, who has no fucking name. Grandmother and a bunch of other people would be sad if they knew what he wanted to do. And that's just stated as, but Kai could picture their expressions if they knew he was even contemplating it. But there's no Martha Wells doesn't seem to she doesn't understand many things, including pronouns. It. The only thing it. You have to tell us what it is. Like, you can use a pronoun after you've established what that pronoun belongs to. So here, it would, if this sentence should just end with, Kai could picture their expressions if they knew he was even contemplating what he really wanted to do. That would make that clearer. But then, like, the next paragraph, but Bashasa and ZD, blah, 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 he had to figure out a way to help them. And then, next paragraph, the horrific emotional consequences of the worst mistake of his life aside. What do you mean? What horrific emotional consequences? What is the worst mistake of his life? I don't fucking get it. The only mistake he's made up until this point is trying to cross the fucking flooded river with a Denny that ended with a Denny getting killed, but there's no reference to that here. So, like, what? Because no mistakes were made here. It's not in reference to accidentally body swapping. Like, he doesn't really seem to give a single flying fuck that he's not in Enna's body anymore. He doesn't seem to have much of an attachment to it. It's just, I'm just so confused. And, like, it's just stated so bluntly. I'm just freaking, You will not be able to focus, but maybe it can. Come on, camera. You can do it. No, it's not working. It's literally just stated, out of nowhere. The horrific emotional consequences of the worst mistake of his life aside, Kai had an idea. What does that fucking mean? I'm sorry I am just sitting here going on about this, but what the fuck does that mean? That is not attached to anything. That's just like shoved in there. It doesn't make any fucking sense. There's no context for that at all. It's not grounded in anything. It's just... Alright, the rest of that paragraph is just... Kai, I could use my own pain, he thought. The power structures in his new brain remembered didn't seem to care what the source was as long as it existed. There's no reason why not. Are we acting like this is the first time that Kai... This is stupid. Again, I just can't get over the start of this paragraph. The horrific emotional consequences of the worst mistake of his life aside. But we weren't talking about horrific emotional consequences. It's not like that sentence, it's just, why the fuck is it there? You could say that if like this, we're on this page, the line's right here. You could say the horrific emotional consequences of the worst mistake of his life aside. You could say that if anything going on right now involved him making a mistake, none of which does. You could say that if the entire top of this page and this entire page and maybe this whole entire page back here, you could say that if that was all devoted to the supposed horrific emotional consequences for the worst mistake of his life, neither of those things exist. This is page 210. Neither of those things exist. He is not feeling any he's not feeling any emotional consequences, let alone horrific emotional consequences, and he didn't make a mistake. He's not feeling bad for body swapping. He's not wishing he could go back into Enna's body. He's not grieving that in any way. This is just nonsensical. Doesn't cover it. It doesn't make sense. She's like trying to make a joke with this, because I think that's supposed to be funny, but like the joke is supposed to be like dark humor, but like there's nothing to attach it to. There are no emotional consequences at all, let alone horrific emotional consequences. He didn't make a mistake, and I would definitely say it's not on par with the mistake of trying to ford a flooded river and killing your friend, getting your friend killed, your friend dying. This is page 211. You can flip to that page and read it for yourself if you are reading along because you want to suffer with me. This is like... this is just like a historically bad quote, and I think that's... Well, this is gonna go down in history. My personal fucking book history of like one of the most ridiculous and terrible sentences I have ever read, because there's... How long have I been staring at this exact fucking page? Like, I cannot get over that. What in the fuck? That's just absurd on every fucking level. What in the fuck? I will read it one more time, and then I will move on, I swear to God. The horrific emotional consequences of the worst mistake of his life aside, Kai had an idea. I said I was gonna move on, but I literally can't. I can't. What in the fuck does this fucking mean, Martha Wells? What are you talking about? He didn't make a mistake, let alone anything that could be called the worst mistake of his life. There's no consequences. There's no emotional consequences. There's no consequences total, let alone emotional consequences, let alone horrific emotional consequences, let alone tied to the worst mistake of his life because he didn't make a mistake. What in the fuck? I swear to God, I will move on now. This is ridiculous. Again, I can't even scroll the flippin'. That's 3. Same paragraph. He looked at Enna again, because this really should be its own separate paragraph, because that's how paragraphs work. He looked at Enna again, shrouded under the black mantle, and wanted to climb under there with her. Also, I gotta say, it's very, very fucking misogynistic. That's not Enna. That's a dead body. Enna has never been a fucking character because Martha Wells killed her off before the story fucking began. And that's so fucking misogynistic. She literally only exists, doesn't even get to be a character. It's literally just her dead body being driven around by a guy. And then every other female character, like Sanja and Tenez, and just has no fucking personality. So, like, Martha Wells literally killed off a female character so that her dead body can make Kai sad. And he's not even thinking of it as his body. It's always just Enna's body. And now we're acting like Enna is not a character because she died before the story began. It's just ridiculous. So, yeah. Kai looked at Enna again, shrouded under the black mantle, and wanted to climb under there with her. She was his last connection to Kent Dessa and all that it had been, and that was gone now. The ache of that thought sparked power, and he used it to form an intention on Talamine's, his, palm. So, and now we're doing more misogyny because it's literally just man pain, and the man pain gives Kai magical powers, and he doesn't even care about Enna for her own sake, just that she is his last connection to her family members. And he's literally just doing that on purpose. He's making himself sad about Enna's body on purpose to use that to make power, because it's apparently not just physical pain that gives him power, it's emotional pain. So he's literally unstoppable. This is ridiculous. Page 212. Again, this is supposed to be funny, so I have to turn back. Kai, what? You're not drawing from the Hyrax well, are you? Zedi asked, because Kai summoned a little glow on his hand. No, Zedi, I'm not an idiot. I'm using my own pain. Zedi's eyes narrowed. It's not nearly as likely to destroy your consciousness and enslave you to the Hyrax well, but it's hardly an inexhaustible source. Kai huffed a laugh, though it wasn't funny. Isn't it? Zedi bit her lip, and he could see she knew he was right. You're taking all the fun out of killing a hierarch's high expositor and stealing his power, Kai. Like, what? What do you mean he's taking all of the fun out of it? That's just stupid. And why are we even pretending for 5 seconds for the sake of dialogue that he doesn't have literally infinite power if he gets his power from pain? Blah, blah, blah. Kai says, did you know some of them were enslaved? Cantenius wasn't, but this one was. I'd heard rumors, Zedi admitted. It may be only the high expositors who are controlled that way. So again, high expositors are the only ones who get capital letters for some fucking reason. So you're an expositor now, she says. I may be able to teach you witch work, too. So, can literally... Alright. That is followed by not dialogue, reading, Witches were supposed to be born of the mix of demon and mortal blood during the long ago war with the Under-Earth, at least in the borderlands, but maybe there were other kinds of witches. Were expositors just witches who had been twisted out of shape? Not all of them, not Centenios, but Kai thought Talamines might have been. But what? What? Why is that a fucking question? This is still page 212, but he had a more urgent question to answer first. Was he even still a demon? Why the fuck is that in question? Why the fuck would you not be? What? So to test if he's still a demon, as though blah just wiped his hand through some of the wet blood staining the tile. He did the thing where he draws life out of it. In the next breath it was black dust, flaking away like ash. Zidi's surprise was turning into something very like awe. Because we gotta worship our protagonist, guys. Look how cool he is. He's has exactly all of the powers that he's had this whole entire book, and has never had to work for. But let's pretend it's awe-inspiring, making even Zidi be awed. Wow. Isn't he cool, everybody? The guy that has never had to fucking struggle to actually get any of these abilities because they're just handed to him. Page 213. Let me get a drink. Okay. I'm just still baffled by that fucking line. And that was on page 211. Yep, I'll remember that forever. Just absolute absurdity. He goes back over to Anna's body and takes the leather band with the Kentdessa antelope sigil from her hair. And just wears it around his wrist. And I do have to comment, they're now walking past a whole bunch of bodies. And am I gonna get a good explanation for why the demons aren't sucking dry every single fucking body? Because A, free power for them that we now know as of that last trip to this time lets you do shit that should be impossible if you absorb enough life force. B, that would seriously help everybody who's gonna be here with disease afterward, because if you dry a body, that means it can't rot, can't spread disease, can't spread anything. This whole fucking society should hire demons for fucking corpse removal, is what I'm trying to say here. They should do that. Just do that. That should be a par for the fucking course. thing, especially when they are just dead bodies from a battle. Like they're walking past so many dead bodies. Drain them all of whatever remaining life force is in there, desiccate them, and stop any fucking disease outbreaks so that people who have to fucking live here and deal with all this shit don't have to deal with the fucking plague. And again, it's providing literally infinite life-saving amounts of power to the demons, so you're gonna have to give me a really good fucking reason that they don't just drain the life force of every single enemy ever, including their dead bodies. Turning the page. I hate Martha Wells so much. I have to turn back. Page 213, the very last sentence. The wounded had been brought to page 214, one of the side halls where mortals, some in court dress and some in plainer servants' clothes, moved among them, bringing water or bandaging injuries. Now, in contrast to that useful activity, the demons sat on the steps of the platform, staring at Kai. Their gazes were dull or angry or just bored. Some had been in the cageling court too long. He recognized those expressions of disinterest of a demon barely attached to their own body anymore. It was a wonder so many had reached the temple halls at all. He was certain some must have dropped away from the group in the corridors along the way. Arn Nefa and the Rinaldi demon stood with them, just watching him. The inaction was maddening. Kai hissed out of breath. "What are you doing? There's still a hierarch in this place. Why aren't you helping look for him?" Again, these are all victims of torture. That up until, I don't know how long Kai was unconscious. Probably, I don't know. Up until maybe an hour ago, these people were all actively being tortured by acid, but we're told that they're bad people for sitting and resting. Because fuck Martha Wells. Another demon said, "Why did you violate every covenant by taking a living mortal body?" Oh my god. So in response to that, sick shame hardened like a rock in Kai's stomach. The unfairness of it was grating, but he knew saying, "I didn't mean to do it, it was an accident," wasn't going to help. It would, though, because you're a fucking child, but I guess... And again, we're just supposed to pretend that Kai is a poor, oppressed minority because somebody's asking him, why did you do a war crime? Which is presumably what stealing a living person's body is, because yeah, that should be a fucking war crime. Asking, why did you commit a fucking war crime? So he says, "This was an enemy. How many expositors have you killed?" Because... oh my god. I'm not even gonna read the rest of that. Just turn to page 214 and 215. It's just getting more and more fucking ridiculous. A demon points out that these humans are not fighting to help us. Kai was incredulous. Why should they? Just fucking ridiculous. I'm on page 215 now. With Martha Wells being really fucking bad at structuring paragraphs, and especially paragraphs that involve dialogue. Here's this. Kai looked this is all one paragraph on page 215. Kai looked helplessly at Arn Neffa. She stared at him, her expression now edged with contempt. You fought the legionaries in this room. What changed? Now, if this were a competent author, the person speaking there would be Arn Neffa, because she was the last one to be mentioned and doing something before the dialogue. But that's Kai speaking, because Martha Wells is bad at fucking writing. She does this a lot with dialogue and paragraphs. Martha Wells has just this. So all the demons are like uselessly depressed into not wanting to do anything because Martha Wells thinks, I don't know how to fucking describe it besides cynical fucking individualist bullshit where she has no fucking conception of the word solidarity. And this is just more demonization of oppressed minorities because she's saying that the enslaved people are too depressed to fight for their own rights and shit, which is just a continuation of her slavery apologism from the Murderbot Diaries, where she just keeps telling us that if you free a slave, they'll just go back to being a slave instead of running away or doing literally anything else because they're just too. They just can't think of anything else to do. Except, of course, for when she's busy demonizing them by saying, oh, you can't free them because they'll kill everybody. The good ones, if you're wondering, the good ones are the ones who just go back to quietly being a slave and not making any trouble because Martha Wells is fucking racist. Page 216. Uh-huh. Again, yep, Martha Wells is so fucking shit. She's decided to now just permanently demonize all of the other demons in the story forever by having by having Arn, Neffa, attack Kai, and she grabbed him by the throat and tried to drain his life. And that made him sad, so he just bent her hand backwards and then walked away to go stand with Ziti because Martha Wells is racist. That's page 216. Page 217, for the record. This is another character who's in the personae, with the dramatis personae, and only shows up on page 217 and will probably never show up again. Blah, 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 blah. Kai says, "What are you called?" She touched her shoulder where her sash was tied. "Saladel, second shield bearer to Prince Heir Bashasa." Page 218, I've managed to turn a page. Randomly on page 218, we're getting told that there's an officer's rank for the legionaries, I guess for the hierarchs, and that rank is called Right Hand of Wrath, which I think is just funny. I'm on page 219 now. And it's just really ridiculous. Kai's just now gonna torture this guy that they have prisoner, and blah, 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 and it's just bullshit. And Kai at this point is presumably still a child, and it's not, and he's just acting like he's not a child because it's badly written. And we're just gonna do the thing again, where the characters just stand around talking about the plot instead of doing the fucking plot. And referring to them as hierarchs dogs again. I'm now on page 220. We get told on page 220, expositors have a thing called a hunt follow intention that could trace scouts back to their camps if they were spotted while too close. Kai had always found that if scouts were spotted while too close, then they were going to be too dead to worry about it, because that's supposed to be sarcastic and funny. It's not. It's just irritating. I think we're on page 220, and I think Martha Wells has forgotten that this is supposed to be set in the past, where Kai's a child, because she's just having him talk the exact same way that he does in the present when he's undoubtedly an adult. I think she genuinely forgot he's supposed to be a kid right now. Because there's now no difference between this internal narration and present, and that's just, again, bad writing, but it's like so bad at this point that it's kind of fucking funny. That is an unnecessary sentence. That could work in any other fucking situation. You need... Hold on. Okay, continuing. Oh, the unnecessarily attempted at poetic random sentences thrown in here that's trying to be poetic, but it doesn't fit in with anything else because the entire rest of this narration is dry as a fucking cracker because there's no emotion in anything except for the few instances where we're explicitly told he was really angry right now, or that whole bullshit on page 211 of the horrific emotional consequences aside when there were none. Now we randomly get this. But that was speculation so pure it might as well have been one of the Soretti fire stories about people who lived in the sky. That doesn't fit in with anything else that is going on here. I'm now on page 221. Yeah, I think Martha Wells forgot that this is set in the past and just wrote it immediately after a scene from the present and forgot that she's supposed to make him seem younger. He is now indistinguishable from present day Kai, which is bad writing. Now on page 222. And yeah, this is the characters just kind of standing around asking questions about the plot instead of doing the plot. So they're torturing this guy and now using magic to read the memory of his belt buckle to figure out where the hierarch is. Because there's supposed to be two of them. They killed one, and then there's supposed to be another one, and it's like, okay, but yeah, just bullshit. Just whatever. And now we are on chapter 10, page 223, back in the present. We're just sailing upriver to go inland. Succeeded in turning to page 224. Turning back to page 223. We're just pretending it's a political thing where we have to question everybody's motives, and it's like, we don't. The plot is not complicated enough for that. What do you mean? 224. Tenez had brought, this part's fine. Tenez had brought some of the immortal blessed ship's silk blankets, and they used them to fashion a tent in the stern under the awning. The weather was hot now during the day, so it was worth it for the extra shade and occasional need for privacy. Everyone had taken off their coats, and Kai and Ramad had tied their skirts up to keep them out of the water. What do you mean, keep them out of the water? You're on a boat. What do you fucking mean, keep them out of the water? Like, what? You don't need to keep anything out of the water. You're on a boat. The whole point is not being in the water. Whatever. 225. Managed to turn another page. Now we get told on page 225 that the Chimera, trust her. Trust Martha Wells, guys. She's a serious author. She just uses the thesaurus. That totally means she's a good writer. The Chimera only worked from above. So the illusion spell only fucking works as an illusion from above. Because, so it's literally just pure fucking luck that not a single fucking person was already landed or looking out to sea or looking at the river at all. That is why would you even, if the illusion spell only works from above, why didn't you tell us that to begin with? So there could at least be some tension about, we have to get out of here before they fucking land. Because if anybody looks at us from any direction then above, we're gonna get caught. What in the... She literally only tells us that crucial piece of fucking information about the illusion spell that's supposed to be protecting them after they don't fucking need it anymore. On 225. That is just so fucking ridiculous. Ew. We're getting page 225 still. We're finally getting some kind of fucking explanation for that statement earlier that witches don't have renegades, which is not a thing that works with people because, like, are you fucking brainwashing everybody? We're having a conversation about that now out of nowhere for some fucking reason. Ramad said, something you said earlier, ... Why don't witches have renegades? Because none want to rebel? Because there's nothing to rebel against. I'll just tell you the dialogue. Witches have no hierarchy, no organization, but they act in concert, or they did during the war. Are we just ending the conversation there? We are just ending the conversation there. What the fuck? What in the fuck? Oh my god, I have to read the actual prose between all of those things now. What? Now I'm reading the actual prose between the statements. Kai says, you want to use up all your questions on this? So Ramad asks, how many questions do I have? And Kai said, that's one. And then Ramad let out a breath, and a genuine smile flickered. He had been around Kai long enough to know that was a joke, and that was ... somehow disturbing and warming at the same time. Because Kai has a crush on Ramad, and I guess... Yeah, let me just read all the dialogue again, that we're not... Why did Martha Wells bring this shit up again, only to not answer the fucking question? Why don't witches have renegades? Hold on, the cat's causing problems. You know what? Are you good? Are you gonna be good? Alright. Don't bring up a plot hole statement if you're not even gonna answer it. Don't bring it up again. Why would you do this? Why don't witches have renegades? Because none want to rebel? Because there's nothing to rebel against. Witches have no hierarchy, no organization, but they act in concert, or they did during the war. And then Kai's like, you wanna use up all your questions on this? So we're ending the conversation literally right there. We're just bringing up that shit from earlier and then not answering it again. To waste, I guess the entire point of that was to waste like half a page to fill out the fucking shit. Like, you can't say that witches don't have renegades for reasons, like, as though they're all on the same side, because the only way that can be true is if you're fucking brainwashing all of them, or they're in a hive mind inherently, because we just established in the past that Talamines, who was an enslaved expositor, probably was a witch. If he would have been a witch if he hadn't gotten enslaved by expositors instead. Like, what do you fucking mean? Why are you bringing this up again? Why would you fucking do this? I'm now on page 227. Now on page 228. So I guess the implication now is, let me just read all this. Ramad is asking, as a historian, hold on. Well, I'll just read the dialogue. Ramad said, "The great Bashasa spoke his last words to you." Kai says, "Oh, not that. Everyone asks that." Ramad says, "Then I won't ask what they were. I'll ask, why did he speak them to you? Why do you think? The rumor is that you were his lover, that you seduced him for power in the new rising world." Continuing with Ramad, others say the great Bashasa would never have debased himself like that. Kai says, very provocative, Ramad. It's not exactly a new tactic. Ramad says, I've always wondered if it was the other way around, how he might have seduced or persuaded you to his service. And then Kai thinks, the answer was yes, but not like you think. Kai says, what if I told you it wasn't like that at all? Would you believe me? Would you even listen? Ramad says, yes, I would certainly listen and believe. Kai says, have you ever heard of the Sareti, the people the Araik and Enelin called the Grass Kings, despite zero evidence of any kings ever? Ramad says, weren't they nomad herders somewhere in the Witchlands? I remember a story about rather dark religious practices. Kai thinks to himself, yes, I was one of those practices. Kai says, dark compared to killing off entire cities because they're in your way? Ramad says, not that dark, no. But I thought they were almost entirely destroyed by the hierarchs. Did they lend support to Bashasa's alliance? Kai says, they formed their own alliance to fight the hierarchs' advance, with the sea people and traders of Arathi and the borderlanders from the places the Araik called the Witchlands. But they didn't know how much of the world the hierarchs had already conquered. They didn't know about the power of the well. Ramad says, were you with them before Bashasa? Kai says, I was with them. Now, tell me how learning... And then he's changing the subject. And then he's just changing the subject and we're not getting answers. So I'm guessing the implication here is that, yes, Kai and Bashasa were in a sexual relationship, but not for power, just for doing eugenics. Because why else would he be bringing up the Sareti, the people who fucking trafficked him as a child into a eugenics program? The only fucking logical conclusion is that he was going to explain, yeah, I was gonna just sleep with this guy so that we could make a magical eugenics baby. And then Zedi shows up after they've changed the subject, so we're not doing it at all. We're just describing their clothing, and I don't care because we have no context for what it means, and I'm not going to describe it. We have to be reminded that Sanja exists, because she says, hold on. They got underway again, and Sanja said suddenly, Vanguarder, can you tell the story about the people who thought you were stupid? And that makes Kai do a spit take, because I guess it's supposed to be funny. Now on page 229. Why are you saying that, Martha Wells? Ramad turned to eye Sanja, but it was with the good humor of someone being hazed as the newest member of a group. Okay, why are you telling us that? What? What? Let me out. out the window. You want to come sit with me? You want to come sit with me? Gizmo. She was mirroring out the window. She was watching TV with us earlier. She was very entranced by Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Every time I glance over here like that, it's because there's little lines of static climbing up my phone screen that I can see out of the corner of my eye. We're going to be doing some talking about, well, finally, we seem to not be talking about the plot, but we're talking about stuff that is probably just going to be a caricature of some kind of people that Martha Wells doesn't like. Oh, okay, I guess we're not actually gonna get to hear the story. Why did we have that? Why does that exist then? Whatever. Oh, tinnitus is going. Apparently they've been traveling on this ghost boat for several days now. Because we were told earlier it's getting hot during the day, implying that they've been here during the night. And now we're told the days were long and hot, but the nights were cool. That's random. It's not helping give me any sense of time because it's just abruptly being thrown in here. I really don't understand this. The barge's state, which is a ghost boat, made it hard to keep any clothing clean, and Ramad's erratic shaving and his beard stubble made him look even more like an itinerant river trader. I don't get that. What does that mean? What about it being a ghost boat makes it hard to keep stuff clean? It's solid. I don't understand what that's supposed to mean. I guess this is gonna just be a montage, not a montage of everybody making friends. Page 230 now. On page 230, they've run out of supplies, and before they were scavenging from long abandoned farming fields. Why are they abandoned? Now they have to stop at a trading village, so they send Sanja alone in case she wants to run away, and send Tenez to follow her at a distance, just to make sure she's safe, but not to stop her from coming back. Ramad says, "You're giving her a chance to run away." Kai says. Isn't that what you wanted? To get her away from us? Ramad's shrug was wry. That was cohort leader Ashem. I believe in letting people choose their own path. You believe in letting children be abused? That's so stupid. Sanja comes back with a bag stuffed with food, and she bought 3 wide-brimmed straw hats for her, Ziti, and Tenez. And didn't get one for Kai, because apparently he doesn't like things in his hair. Now on page 231. Again, with Kai and Ziti insisting that the empire they founded wasn't meant to be an empire. It clearly fucking is, though. Page 232. Oh, we're just getting a random line break. And they are saying, we don't have a plan right now. We won't until we get Taren back. Kai gets woken by some glow-in-the-dark fish. And he just casually sticks his hand in the water because who gives a shit? And it writes some messages on his hand that we don't get to read at the same time as his, and blah 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 blah. And then we are on chapter 11. What's the timer at? I do have to end the video now because it's at 1 hour and 40 minutes and my phone needs the space. So bye bye.